Are men polygamous in nature? Very much excited to interact with you today. I'm beautiful, loved, accepted, and I am free. So this has been a question that has been trending on and on, if men are polygamous in nature. And I would say no, men are not polygamous in nature, but they're programmed to be polygamous. They're programmed to be promiscuous. Now, when you're programmed into something, mostly we don't blame you, we blame the circumstances that triggered you to be in that space of where you are. Sometimes life makes us a victim. It makes us victims of circumstances where we do not know why we got into those spaces. And so we can't blame ourselves, but you make a choice of, you make a choice of getting out of some of these things. So I want us to start from here. What is polygamy? Of course, it's the arrangement where everybody knows, it's a legal arrangement, basically, because the culture, the African tradition, and Islam actually agrees to that, a man having more than one woman. Maybe it could be Islam takes it to 4, but African tradition has never been clear. So a man can have as many as women you want, but you take care of them. It's legally known. Number 2, there is the concept of promiscuity, where you are not physically attached to people. The man is not attached to anybody, but he's just maybe having sex with women around them. Now, promiscuity is also something of its own. Now, when someone asks me if men are polygamous in nature, I would say no. This is an attribute that was brought forth by the environment we lived in. For example, if you have, let's say, triplets, identical, born by the same woman, but when these children are put in 3 different locations, let's talk of Africa, Asia, and Europe, okay? You're going to realize that these children are going to be totally different. The person raised in Asia is going to speak different from the one raised in Europe, another one raised in Africa. It's just going to be different. Their accent, everything about them, their way of life is going to be different. Why? The indoctrination is different. When a child is born, he is plain. He is empty, like a phone, like a brand new phone, with nothing on it. So as like the way an IT person or that person, the phone seller, starts installing everything in it, including the apps, is what is done. And that usually happens in child development from the age of 0 to 7. You start instilling your culture into this guy. That's why you're going to see that the Lubara culture is different from the Kakwa culture. The Baganda culture is different from, quite different from the Bunyoro. Why? Because each culture has its own things that they believe uniquely to them. And so, yes, we could grow from the same space, the same environment, but there is a way we perceive life differently. Why? The indoctrination is different. So you realize that people think teaching is 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 2 = 4. Teaching is as simple as anything you perceive by your sensory glands. Have you had it? Is it hard? Yeah. Have you seen it? Then you have already learned. Because certain things you don't need to do them. Let's take an example. If someone was raised in an environment, in a very violent environment, let's take you had a violent dad, he would beat your mom. And so you vow to yourself, when I grow up and I become a man, I would be very kind to my wife. And you find yourself doing it. Why? It's embedded in your system. It is in your system. It has grown. It was a seed that was planted. You were taught that, but you didn't know that it would materialize one time. So teaching promiscuity or teaching polygamy was not directly told to the sons, like, you know what, boy, you're going to be polygamous. But it was seeing the way your mother was treating. How was polygamy treated in your case? Let's take an issue like when a woman committed adultery. How was the woman treated? When a man committed adultery, how was the man treated? That was a learning session for you. And so because the man was not harshly treated by community, because the man's adultery was, agreed to. Let's look at the Bible example, the story of Abraham. Why did Sarah allow Hagar to come in? Because Sarah couldn't produce, and Hagar, she was held accountable. So she knew that if this man's lineage died, she would be held accountable. Also, she opens up and says, you know what? Go ahead and marry that woman. So you'd realize that this woman was actually broken. She was broken. That's why when she gave birth, she told her husband, chase Hagar away. I don't want her here. Why? She didn't want it, but it was a condition that put her into accepting this state. So you'd realize that the boy child is indoctrinated with this. But it's unfortunate. I made a statement and I'm still repeating it, as like the African tradition has been created to feed the ego of a broken boy or of an insecure son. For the boy to be himself, they first had to they had to feed the girl, to they had to make the woman weak for him to prosper. For him to be himself, they had to make the woman very weak. Okay, for example, let's look at this. When a man sleeps around with many women, he said it's a man. When a woman sleeps around, she's called a whore. She's a prostitute, right? So you'd see that the yardstick is different. They first had to make the woman very inferior and the man superior whenever he did the same thing with a woman. When a man loses his wife and marries within 1 month, he's a man. When a woman loses her husband and marries within 1 week, she killed the man. So you realize that this kind of treatments given to the different people as they were growing up created an ideology of these things for the boy child and the girl child. So it's an indoctrination. It's like an orientation. When you went to that organization, they had to orient you to fit in the system. How do we do things here? When you're going for an activity, how do you request money? How do you account? How do you carry yourself? All these things had to be indoctrinated in you for you to believe in them. Okay? So what am I trying to say to you? There is nothing like men are polygamous. It's just indoctrinated in them that they are polygamous. And so a lot of the black boys are dancing to the tune. They're so much excited and saying this is it. But I want you to know that polygamy is just affirming your weakness. Yeah. It's just affirming that you are insecure. It's just affirming that you are weak. Today, sex is very cheap. In the 19th century, in the early 2000s, if you had a woman, it was expensive, right? First of all, culturally, it costed you financially. Number two, for you to get a woman by that time, it was so expensive. You know, the girl child was greatly protected by culture. In my auntie tells me that in my culture those years, if a girl slept with a man, for example, unknowingly, a lion would consume this guy. Or someone in the family, sorry. But this protected sexuality, like girls knew how to take care of themselves. But today, you can find a one-night stand anywhere. You can do anything. Actually now sex has substitutes. Did you know that? I mean, the vagina has substitutes. You all know, you know. So this makes the concept a little bit cheaper. So as a son, when you try to thrive and, you know, show authority through sexuality, then it's cheap these days. You can even get it for free. You can get it for free. When they were doing the statistics of fatherhood in Uganda, they said there's a group of 10% of men who never knew that they had kids. And imagine these are men who just went for, you know, you've gone to the field to do some work and you saw a girl who caught your attention and you just slept with her, one night stand, and you left a baby you did not know. So promiscuity is for men whose egos are bruised and they're looking for affirmations, they're looking for validation. And so they think sleeping with women is a tool of validation. That used to work in the early years, but it no longer works. So if you want to truly work, go and work on yourself. Can you go back and deal with those things, those feelings of inadequacy? Because trust me, having all these women will never help you as a brother. We have seen in our community, in our culture, that most men die alone. Most polygamous men die alone. Not because they were bad, but because they were never emotionally available. As you are in your sexual circle with the different women, as you're in your sexual experience with the different mothers moving around, there's a time your child felt neglected. There's a way your other woman felt she wasn't wanted. Because children see those things. We feel energies, you know. And so at the end of the time, it creates an impact on you. Can you go back and work on your insecurity? Learn to create your power from within, not external. Society has made us to create power from externally, but I would like you to create your power from within. And when you have power from within, you will never, ever be beaten. So can get out of these things and create an end to some of these things that are not serving us. I love you with the love of Jesus. Men are not polygamous in nature. Men are not promiscuous in nature. Black men are chaste. Black men are faithful. Black men can control their sexuality. Black men are honest. I think we need to affirm this to our sons, okay? All right. Bye-bye.